like a ruin, you know, that was just 4 walls that had no roof. And had to raise the walls out of the Bradford Curley house at the Ken Carroll Ranch. So, you know, you could do that. Just have to work with the design of the parking
Right,
structure.
right. Okay, well, that's good.
I think
to
they're
know.
kind of cool.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Lydia, why don't you come up and sit up here with me? How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Good. So, should we just go ahead then?
Give me 1 second.
You ready? And we're trying to get John, get this going live.
Oh, okay.
He was out there talking to somebody out by a building and now he's running late.
All right, he was with us. You can blame us. You can blame me and Andy.
All right, we are officially.
Officially live. All right. This is July 12th, 6:31. And this is our work session. We're going to start out tonight talking about the library landscape project and
Yes.
update.
Is it okay if I get up and?
Yeah,
Carmen, can you hear us?
Carmen, can you hear us? You're on mute.
Yep, I sure can.
Okay.
All good.
It's like in Texas in the summertime.
Yeah, I mean. That far.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started, and we're gonna let, I guess, Chris, are you gonna kind of lead this?
Sure, I can do that.
Sure. Just to give council an update, Andy, who else? I guess Chris and Tim were out looking at it a couple of weeks ago, the landscape over at the library, right? And Libby was probably there too. Yes, okay. And we're here to listen so we can approve the landscape design and get this thing out with an RFP to see how quick we can get this landscape done. So with that, Chris, you just kind of want to take us through and.
Sure. I got these 24 by 36 inch drawings, but I know you guys all have your packets. And just to give you a little bit of history, you know, we started this project back in 2015 with the library district. Some of the issues that were associated with us getting going on this project was the ramp, you know, on the south side. There were a lot of issues with water, you know, running down the ramp. And also just, you know, wanting to make the space a more pleasing area. And so anyway, so we've gone through a few iterations. We've worked with the city, we've worked with the library district. We've also worked with the State Historical Fund because of the work that was done on the building, on the exterior. That was funded through a grant through the State Historical Fund. And so they have an easement on the building and on the grounds. So when we developed this design, it was necessary for us to get the approval of the State Historical Fund. And they had a few comments, and that was a couple of years ago, but we have incorporated, you know, all of their comments in the design. And so anyway, and we were there a couple of weeks ago with Andy and Libby, and we made a few minor changes to the plan. Oh,
I put them up so people.
oh, okay. Yeah, if you want to go to the next sheet. This is, you know, just the demolition plan. So we're showing, you know, there may still be some foundations associated with the ramp. So you can see the dashed lines. We are removing the existing concrete walkways. But it was really important, part of the criteria for this design was that we wanted to retain the cannon and the arastra. And so you'll see, why don't we go to the next sheet? So here's the plan. We've added some diagonal walkways. We learned from the library district that the kids from Carlson Elementary next door, there is kind of a worn path diagonally through the site. And so we thought, okay, we don't need worn grass. Let's put in a sidewalk. So you can see that. We do have the sidewalk off of Minor Street. And then also you can see the arastra, which is existing to remain up here. And then you can see the cannon. We did put a low wall around the back of the cannon. It's seating height. The idea is that people could sit on that wall. We always thought that maybe there could be some activity performances on that round plaza. So we do have that wall that is on the back side of the cannon. The concrete pad that the cannon sits on is not in good condition. So we are replacing that. We are retaining the same size, the same control joints. And we also understand from the community that there may be some inscriptions on the vertical face of the existing cannon base. So we do have some notes in our drawings to have us come out and document if there is an inscription on it.
What's that gonna take, Chris, going around and digging it all the way around to the footer?
To the base.
Right, yeah, to the base. So we're gonna document that if there is anything on that pad.
No.
And then we also talked, I'm sorry. We talked to Andy 2 weeks ago. We wanted to put that area in front of the hose house, make it another nice plaza for people to sit out at. You might want to bring tables and chairs with umbrellas, or the Historical Society may want to bring their fire trucks out there on display. But at the same time, we want to retain the driveway that's next to Carlson. But we don't, we don't want people parking on that hose house plaza. So we are actually calling for some bollards. You can see those little circles along the south side of the plaza. So that will prevent vehicles from parking in that area, which has become kind of an issue, I guess.
But that's not the way they access that.
Right.
And they access it from the west. They
Yeah.
go up the school property and then,
He's got a.
oh, you're on your way to that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're ahead of me.
Glad you brought
Right
that
ahead.
So there is an existing retaining wall that runs along the west side of the hose house. And by the time it gets kind of to the south end, it's almost like a curb. And so what we're doing is we are going to extend that curb all the way along the west side of that hose house plaza. So it's high enough that people are deterred from driving over it. But we'll still retain the driveway over on the west side of the plaza, because I know, people want to access that space, maybe for garbage and other things like that.
Well, it provides a safety lane for the school. There's an
Right.
exit door there on
Uh-huh.
the north
The
side.
hose house. All you can do is come up to this fence right here.
Because there's dumpsters there, and then the fence.
That's there.
But, yeah, question, Chris, I'm just wondering, the bollards are removable, I assume from.
Yes, we did specify removable bollards.
Could you
Yeah.
talk a little bit more about the surface of the driveway area in front of the hose house?
Yeah, we wanted to have exposed aggregate concrete. So, it'll have a little bit of a texture to it.
Okay.
And then, you can see the scoring pattern, the control joints, just to give it, break it up. So it's not just this one massive slab of concrete.
Like a patio feel,
Pardon me?
like a patio feel maybe?
Yeah. I think it could be used, for all sorts of activities. You could bring food trucks in there too, I suppose, if you wanted to have some event in that plaza.
You're ahead of me now.
I guess I didn't realize that on that side of that, in that driveway, that was drivable. Isn't there a big drop in there behind the, no,
No,
or a curb and stuff back in here?
there is a drop on the west side of the hose house.
Right, but there's like dumpsters and stuff here. I mean, obviously you're movable, no?
I don't know what owns it.
But in there on the, man, I thought there was a big curb in there or something.
Well, on the west side of the hose house, there is a drop there, we filled it with gravel
Oh,
for
okay.
good drainage.
It's only west of the structure.
Right.
Yeah.
But then to the west of that, there is a paved driveway, which is basically at the same elevation as that hose house plaza.
Oh, okay,
There is also a set of stairs and a door in there too.
right.
Right.
That's
So
what,
you can't drive through there.
that's what I thought, John. Yeah, you can't, yeah, okay.
And then, let's see, moving up in the plan, if we could just scroll up a little bit. We are providing a space right here on the south side of the library entry. This is gonna be pavers. We're gonna have a bike rack there, and a flagpole that's lit at the top. And then also we're gonna have a, animal, the receptacle that does not allow bears, bear-proof is what I'm trying to say, a bear-proof receptacle, waste receptacle. Also, we did talk, there are 2 trees on the north side of the entrance, and one of them is in not very good condition, so I'm sorry, we're gonna keep that tree. It's
On
the
the
one,
north side.
yeah, on the north side, we're gonna keep that tree. What we talked about was, John, if you could scroll back down as long as we're talking about trees. There are 2 trees along the south side, and one of them is not in good condition, and we thought taking that one out would allow the other one to grow better. It does provide nice shade over there. We want to keep, that one tree. So, that was the plan. And then also,
Are those maples or oaks or
we
something?
think they're maples,
Maples.
silver maples. Yeah, we had one in our front yard that was quite mature, and it turned out the trunk was just basically hollow, it's just a ring. So,
Yeah, it's a big tree.
Chris, I think we're gonna go ahead and have those trees evaluated. as well,
right,
to
right.
See what kind of condition, maybe have some trims and
Uh-huh,
including the ones maybe on the east side there too.
right. That's something the city was gonna do, right? And also, at the main entry into the library, those steps, and the sidewalls. We worked on this project about 10 years ago. It's part of that SHF grant. And those walls need some attention. They need to be repointed and cleaned. So we've included that in the scope. And then also on the south side, with this stairway, we are retaining that stairway. That's really important. We are putting in guardrails on both sides. And then there is some issue with moisture traveling through these walls, because they're retaining walls. So we would like to excavate along the sides of those walls and, repoint the exterior side and then put a waterproof coating on those walls, to prevent moisture migrating through them.
Pretty common.
Yeah, we see that a lot.
Yeah.
So anyway, And where there's a lilac up here. You know, originally we had shown like a stage over in this area by the lilac. But we removed that. I think, you know, the decision was made that it's really not needed. And by eliminating that and another walkway that we had up in this northwest corner, you have more lawn area, which I think is important. I know you don't really have that many green spaces here in Idaho Springs. So anyway, there's a really beautiful lilac that we are retaining. And then what we're doing here, there is a foundation wall on the south side of the library. That's what that double line is. And we're basically gonna continue that and create like a curve, just to separate this library park area from the gravel. There's a gravel area to the north surrounding the lilac. Yeah, hi, Bob.
I was wondering if there was any consideration given for any additional trees or not,
You know,
like toward the cannon or maybe toward the hose house. I just like trees.
yeah. Well, one of the comments we got from the State Historical Fund was that they want to keep the view open to the library. So that's why we are not showing any trees near the cannon.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, you're agreeable.
I am.
Is there,
We were talking, go ahead, Scott.
is there an irrigation system for the lawn?
Yeah, we did call for one.
Unless we do artificial turf.
I was gonna say that with irrigation, if that, the turf or if the lawn goes clear to the building, probably gonna have the same
Maybe
issues,
two
yeah.
kids play in there enough that that grass is just not gonna take and, you know, I know it's shaded right now. I'm just not sure how much sunlight that gets to keep it nice and flush.
Well, I think that's why we're keeping gravel under the tree area. Yeah, I mean, I think if it's watered and maintained, and I mean, the kids are the walkway over here, and we have the brand new playground that now we have access to, where I think the kids will use the playground more than they'll use the front lawn like they have in the past, because the playground used to be hot for them, so.
Are
I
you
think
worried,
we can kind of,
are you still gonna be worried though about water intrusion into the basement? Part of
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
we want to
lawn.
make sure that the sprinkler heads are not directed toward the library. There was some waterproofing that was installed below grade against the foundation wall back when we worked on the exterior, because there had been issues with water intrusion.
I know all about it. I got it in my house.
Oh,
Yeah, I did
okay.
the same thing, yeah, so.
Yeah.
What's the work that's being done over there that has been done over the last several months? Wasn't Justin doing something over there on those grounds?
we just installed the sump pump, and
Oh,
so
okay.
that piece is finished with John Jennings.
Okay.
Speaking of that water issue, there is a downspout that's located right here at the southeast corner of the library. And it's always been an issue because the walkway, the existing walkway, goes right next to that corner. And so, you know, we weren't able to put an extension on the downspout, but now that that walkway's been relocated, we're gonna put an extension on the downspout. And you'll have, you know, the lawn area around it. So that's, you know, one of the ways we're addressing that corner.
So there had been previous discussion about trying to help preserve the cannon by putting some sort of covering on it. Is the state historical still saying no go?
You know, we did not ask them about adding a cover over it, but I am pretty certain that they would say no, just because we actually had this wall that surrounds the cannon. We had it higher at one point, and they wanted us to lower it just so there's a view of the library. So I don't think the cover would pass.
Because that thing's restored, what, 5 years ago?
Yeah,
6 years
something
ago?
like that. Yeah, it was spent 22,000 on it.
Yeah.
To restore it.
It's time to do it again.
Could you Cerakote it? Like look into something like that to where,
Copper.
I don't know.
well,
It's got
they
copper.
could Cerakote copper.
Yeah. I think you could, and the wheels need to be painted as well, so you could probably do that maintenance and just plan on it too.
But in Cerakote everything.
Mhm.
And less forever. Or even a powder coat,
Or what?
powder coating.
Okay,
Or
we
powder
gotta look at that.
And it would, I mean, you could still keep the heritage of.
Yeah.
You know, but it'd be forever, it'd be a one-time deal.
You can do that on wood.
It's usually just metal.
Yeah, metal.
Metal.
Now powder coat, of course, because it's electronic, but
Well, that's right.
on the wood,
Yeah. Good point.
you can Cerakote wood though, I know.
So those wheels cost a pretty penny when we replace those.
And I think, cover over it, it's, an idea, but, with the wind and the rain, we get a lot of horizontal wind blown rain and snow, so I'm not sure it would offer a lot of protection. to the
Are
heat.
the wheels wood? Oh, they are,
Yeah.
okay.
So,
Yeah, I think the sun is the main issue
Yeah.
up here. This is sunlight.
It's like,
Yeah, it is.
So if you want to move on to the next sheet. This is just an enlarged plan of what you saw just now. So you can see, we are showing some benches. Those are dashed in. And I know we've been talking to John, you have a city standard that you're developing for your benches and your bike rack. So we are showing, the footprint of the 6-foot long bench that you're going to be using throughout the city.
And the library received a grant from Team Evergreen, which is the cycling team, for benches and bike racks. So we have $3,500 earmarked for that.
That's
That
nice.
we're just reserving. We're ready.
Great.
Hey, Chris, one question about the tree. Andy, if both those maples are in good condition, are you planning on maintaining both those trees?
I
Is
think
that
so.
what we were?
That's why I want to get them evaluated too. I mean,
Okay.
the layperson looks like one is kind of struggling.
Yes,
But I don't
definitely,
know,
yeah.
maybe there's hope for it and maybe we could keep up with it.
Okay, yeah, we can show all of them and have a note about evaluating them.
land trees.
So I think this pretty much, this is just an enlarged plan of what you saw. What, Bob?
Another question, just wondering if there's been any discussion on interpretive signage for the Canon and the Arrastra. I know we have something there for the Arrastra that's kind of a temporary thing and the plaque on the building. And I just want that been part of the discussion.
We have not talked about that, but that certainly could be something that could be incorporated.
That's a good
into
idea, Bob.
this.
I like that.
I think that's part of a bigger discussion too, John, for consistency and whatnot, but
Uh-huh.
anyway, they're both pretty interesting items.
They sure are, yeah. You reflect the history of Idaho Springs. So anyway, that's, like I said, the enlarged plan. You can see the bollards down here. So if you want to go to the next sheet. These are just some details, construction details of the work at the library park. The one at the top on the right, that's a section through the wall that's going to surround the back of the cannon. And that's going to be at seating height. So it should be really comfortable for people to sit on. And then we have a detail over on the left. Oops. That's showing a curb that's going to hold the brick pavers on the plaza. And then the sidewalk will be flush with the curb. And then going down, this is the guardrail design. We really wanted to pick up the design on the windows. You see the crosses on the windows of the library. You can see that kind of in this drawing showing the transom above the door. So this is all steel that's painted. So that's that's what we're proposing for the guardrails. And we're going to be adding a handrail also. So I think that's about it. Does anyone have any questions?
Council, any questions, thoughts, additions?
We're moving forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
after
So Chris, are you and Tim helping us put together the RFP to put out? Or helping us prepare
Yeah,
that?
we're just about ready to go.
Oh, it's about ready to go?
Yeah.
You can tell me you had a draft.
I haven't seen the draft yet, but we're working on it.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah, we're pretty much completed.
Good.
We updated all the spec sections and, you know, we have got a project manual that'll go with these drawings, the specifications. So we've been working on updating those and so we're very, very close to being completed.
Sean, anything from the state to get some funds to help fund this thing?
We already received some money from the state previously when the original grant went through, but it's always worth talking to people and seeing what we could find. So I could look a little bit and see what we can come up with.
I know the state historical fund, they do not fund this kind of work.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
There may be another couple possibilities out there, so I'll see what I can find.
All right, any other questions, council? Thoughts?
I know you guys have talked about phasing this project, but we talked to Andy and John about it, and really it doesn't make much sense because everything's so interrelated. I think initially there was some discussion about just doing the concrete work, but then some of the concrete has to be recessed to accommodate the new brick pavers. And so you start looking at all of the work and it's just, would make sense just to do it all at one time.
I'm excited.
So am I, yeah, we are too.
All right, any last questions? All right, thank you, Chris.
Sure,
We're
you're
excited to get this moving and on its way. Thank you, Libby.
Now, Libby, did you? Yes, I didn't know that.
Dad, Libby?
That's the park. The All-Star game.
All right, okay,
Good
cool.
thing I'm tall and I have the second
All right.
point on the screen.
Better than later.
All right, we have a few more minutes left, council. Back, it's probably been a couple of months now. We met with Dola's Clay Brown and we went through some new goals going out for 21-22. Everybody had a chance to look at this and anything that we'd like to discuss and changing or putting on hold or not doing at all?
That was a pretty good list, actually.
It was bad, yeah.
Any change?
The only question I have, and I think it occurred before I got back to the meeting, and I apologize. Concerning the consultant to assist the city in obtaining more workforce housing, I was wondering if the new, if that's still on the thought process for all the activity that seems to be coming about us. Just a question, not an objection. It's down under action items under goals.
I mean, we can consider, but we're getting such a push on it already. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then the county has a housing needs assessment that was done a few years, 2 years ago? That kind of gave us some outline on that.
If we need it, it's fine. I just hate
What was the outcome of
Yeah,
that?
thank you. I agree.
The county one.
It just documented how many rental units that we need over the next 10 years.
It was a 10-year study, or
Yeah, I think it projected out 10 years.
did you remember any result of that, the number?
I think in 10 years, we needed
It was 800 and some, wasn't it?
800 total units
Wow,
but that-
countywide.
countywide, but that's not all just, it was.
That's not 800 people, that's 800.
You know, 800
Units.
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 Yeah, and that was affordable, market rate, multifamily, single family, just a combination of everything. John?
County also has a new housing report that's gonna be coming out in the next month or two about their strategies for doing this kind of stuff, so that should be happening.
Did they hire somebody?
They did.
You know, I agree with Art, though. If there was anything, I had a question on that whole list, that was it.
So on this goals, so it doesn't get tucked away in a drawer or something, is it good to revisit this maybe like mid-year?
We're
Or
gonna put it on a big poster and we're gonna hang it up in here, so we
And
can
then
look at it every time we want.
how do we keep in touch with progress and stuff? Will we revisit or?
Yeah, we
just
just, we just kinda-
communicate?
Yeah. Okay. And always, you know, this is a working document, and if there's something we wanna add to or take off, it's that easy. We can just
And yeah, if you recall that Chuck's been looking at our own city-owned infill projects, and we have quite a number of parcels.
Under each one of these items, we could have like
Yeah, maybe.
sub items, right?
Sure.
For the action.
Absolutely. And we can have another work session to tighten this up. It's been a couple months, so yeah.
Or how we approach each item.
Let's mark that, Andy. Let's have another work session on the goals.
The senior center completely full. Like,
Senior center. We'll let them on.
Sure, yeah. With the waiting
Long
list.
wait. Long wait list.
list.
I think the county is working, I think we have it on a senior housing
Your
project.
name on there early.
I know.
Yes. You knew about
Right after
that.
that. I said we should get his name on there right away.
All right. We'll end our work session and we will go into our regular meeting. All right, it is 7:01. On July 12th, this is city council regular meeting. And can we have roll call, please, from everybody joining us tonight?
Michael Woman,
Here.
Scott Pennell.
Here.
Chuck Carmen. Carl Bolden.
Here.
John Carter.
Here.
Mark Bailey.
Here.
Jim Clark.
Here. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Hey, John.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, we have an agenda in front of us. Does anybody have anything except Bob's history update?
Yeah,
Are you ready?
one. Yeah.
All right, history lesson by Bob.
There's nothing in the package about the public hearings and ordinance 7.
There's no public hearing.
Oh, no, it's, I didn't know.
Yeah, there's not a public hearing. Oh, ordinance 7.
And ordinance 5, right?
Ordinance 5, ordinance 7,
Yeah, right.
there's
yeah.
nothing in the package.
There- that-
So
That's right, there wasn't.
I don't think any of these require a public hearing.
that's why I was confused.
This is second reading of these, right? We'll
Yes.
have a third reading on
Nope.
it. Just second.
Okay, any other questions on the agenda? Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the agenda for July 12th, 2021 meeting.
In a second,
Second.
any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we will have an agenda to work off of. Does anybody on council tonight really have a conflict of interest? All right. And approval of minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes from June 28th, 2021.
Second. Motion and second, and discussion. There's something in there that we didn't get right, that needs to be corrected. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, let's move to the bills. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve bills to July 12th, 2021.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, discussion. Any clarification?
Page 10. Go on to US Main. Which one was that? Which loan was that?
The very first line.
Oh, no, down at the bottom, 1725.
10.
10, yeah.
Yes. Principal loan. This one here.
Yeah.
Andy, principal loan, these, is this our wastewater plant?
That one, 51 would be water treatment plant.
One of our water loans, one of the earlier improvements at the water plant.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's one of the loans we had.
This is one of the loans for that.
Gotcha.
The improvements there.
And it's surprisingly cheap fuel bill for the city on the Lex card. Now, the next page over on Wax Bank. Third one down,
Yeah,
seems cheap. Roll a few, $448.
not bad.
Oh,
Not really the prices of,
right.
anybody else have
Oh,
any
I-
questions on bills? Art?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can I have roll call, please?
Mike Nolan,
Yes.
Scott Canal.
Yes.
Jeff Harmon, Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right, we have scheduled public comment. Do I see Mr. Markle? Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Sounds like you have something to donate.
Yeah, a little treat, I hope, a little comic relief maybe. But thanks for having me.
Yeah, just tell everybody who you are, Greg.
Okay, Greg Markle, I'm a surveyor, been doing jobs for the city since 1989. And so I'm here to tell you a little story.
Okay, all right, here's.
So the first mayor of Idaho Springs, Robert Griswold, he got together with his buddies, Peter Theobald and James Payne. He said, guys, we gotta get this town together. You know, we need a patent. We have to go apply for the patent. I'm gonna need $500. And Griswold or Payne and Theobald are like, well, that's all sound really good except for the $500 part. You're on your own there, Grizz. So Griswold did have a mining claim, made a little money, said, I'm gonna front this. So he hired a local surveyor, wasn't me, haven't been around that long. And he says, look, we need a map of the town. So the guy, Francis Brune, he made 4 attempts at it. Everybody was arguing. He made some errors and it was kind of a disaster, but finally he got a map together that they all agreed upon. So in July of 1873, Griswold and Brune walked from Idaho Springs to Central City over Oh My God Road, 9 miles, 8 miles. I don't know. I don't know why they couldn't afford a horse. 2 broke guys from Idaho Springs. They walked over there to apply to the district land office for a patent. So the map that Brune clutched in his hand on the way over, this is a copy of it here. And you see that most of the streets are laid out towards the west end, around 8th or so. Nothing was really developed yet, so the streets kind of ran out. But this is really the first map that was drawn up by those springs. And then after they got their patent, a few years went by, and in 1881, they made a faithful representation of that map, and they came up with this, which is the first signed map of Idaho Springs, town flag, and signed by William Moore, 1883. And you can see this, the streets start with First on this side of town where 17th is. It goes all the way to 17th. At one point they were reversed. So both very cool maps for you guys to look at. The doesn't close mathematically, but who cares, right? What's 80 feet amongst town folk? And so this was added a little later on the railroad. You see that snaking through town, and just as a point of interest, here in block 55, where the football field is, you can see where the town boundary, which really laid on the north side of the creek, gave the creek to all the placer miners. It jut way up, almost into block 55. So the football field. Well, the creek used to be where the interstate basically is now. So the town site came way up into what is now the football field. Anyway, so I want to thank you all for 30 some odd years of surveying work you sent my way, and I want to donate this to you. And hope you enjoy it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for the see you all soon. Thanks, Greg. All right, in our packet, nobody from the school district's here, right? Let's see back from the school district, but in our packets, we got a letter of support for the Habitat project from Karen Quamback. Next, we, under scheduled public comment, Kim Steele.
Hi.
Come on up, Kim. Come stand up at the podium and state your name and where you reside, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Steele. I live at 1414 Wall Street in Idaho Springs.
All right, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'm here because I agree with my neighbors that 16th Street is really dangerous. But I also support affordable housing. So I support the project. Then some changes I would like to see include a cul-de-sac at 16th in Virginia behind the Elks, keep everyone safe. A 4-way stop at Colorado and 16th. It gets crazy when the folks from the town are headed up. It's hard to get out of there. And then Virginia 1-way headed west, headed east. Yes, let's see Virginia headed 1-way east. Yeah, and some more gravel. I don't know if you guys noticed on the road, I put some gravel down in front of my house. The neighbors did, and it's holding up nicely. We're not keeping those big divots anymore, so. That's all I've got. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kim. All right, next we have Rick Scott. Come on up, Rick.
Good evening. My name is Rick Scott. I live at 1548 Wall Street. It's obvious the city is concerned for the safety of downtown citizens and children and visitors. I see painted crosswalks, barricades, pedestrian crossing signs. But 2 blocks away from downtown at 16th in Virginia, I'm not so sure that you're as concerned about those citizens as you are the downtown people. How you vote will reveal more about that. Most of the talk regarding the safety at the intersection has been focused about being struck, the ones being struck by a vehicle that can't stop. But it should also focus on those ones in the cars that are going to be doing the hitting too. You know, I'll be in there, my wife, my grandchildren, our children will also be in there, and they have just as much danger as the ones that will be ran into. Habitat will build here, then they'll return to their safe streets. We'll still be living here with a more dangerous intersection than before they arrived. We met with Habitat, and very graciously for about an hour last week while walking their property. No less than 7 vehicles did a U-turn at the intersection of 16th and of Virginia. They just like turning around there. They don't know what to do once they turn in there. And that takes a while for them to turn around. So that's a weekday. On the weekends, you can double that. Now we have to weigh affordable housing at this site versus surrounding resident safety. Those 17 households affected who will have to drive Wall Street and 16th and down Virginia, we have no other choice. Habitat to build elsewhere, we can't drive elsewhere. If an engineer study comes back and says that the only way to make the intersection safe is to build the road through what's now Habitat's property, how can this happen if there's already duplexes built there? Before you can diligently cast your vote, you must have a plan for these roads. The decision will affect future residents for 100 years. You must make a fully informed decision. Please make a fully informed decision. A simple trip to the grocery store, post office, or doctor appointment will become an adventure. A possible more dangerous one by adding a blind intersection. Will this project add danger to an already dangerous situation? The answer is yes. The city attorney says you can't go against the planning commission. Well, I'm no lawyer, but I believe that's wrong. The planning commission approved the building plans between fences, between blocks. The city council has to look at the big picture. You have to look beyond those perimeters. You have to look at Wall Street 16th, Colorado Boulevard, pedestrian traffic, deliveries, Virginia 16th, and the safety of its own citizens. It's about much more than meeting the codes. Codes don't get injured, people do. A blind intersection at the bottom of a sometimes unstoppable 20% graded street is a real concern. Safety is a real concern. Affordable housing is a real concern. But building at this site only answers one of those concerns, and the other two are just as, if not more, important.
We are all for affordable housing, but not if it adversely affects our and our loved ones' safety. Can Habitat work with the developer down to football field? Let's work together and build affordable housing for Idaho Springs, but let's do it responsibly. Everyone who opposed this current site, I'm sure will be glad to pitch in and help build some affordable housing, but it has to be done in an area that doesn't put anyone in danger. That's being reasonable. That's not asking too much.
Okay, Mr. Scott, that's past your 3 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, do I have any unscheduled public comment? Thanks, John. Okay, first we have Reba Bechtel. Reba?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I want to thank you for your continued consideration of this issue and not pushing it along too quickly. We all appreciate you taking a pause, taking a breath, and considering the safety of the community, which I think somewhere there must be a way to make that a priority. I also think that the density, which has been an issue for me from the beginning, is the cause of the safety concerns in the first place. So it's much different than building single family homes. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Reba. Okay, next we have Christina Weinke. State your name and where you reside, please.
My name is Christina Winky and I reside at 1606 Wall Street, directly behind the Habitat build. As a active member in this community, I work in downtown Idaho Springs. I own property in this town. I take great pride in the plat map that's here. That's awesome. It's one of the things that attracted me to this town. Specifically, I'm looking to set up my roots here for a long time. Honestly, if I have to keep coming back here every other Monday, I might be in one of your seats soon. So hopefully we can come to an agreement where I don't need to be sitting there and I can just be an active participant with some people in front of me that I trust guiding our community along here. I read in the notes the letter that was submitted by the Clear Creek County schools, and I agree with them 100%. I would like affordable housing for teachers and the like in our community. I raised questions whether this particular housing has enough regulation to give those people in our community that are driving through 2 school districts, as it stated in the letter, to get here, if we're going to be able to retain those people with the housing that we're building. If those people will want to spend 30 years, the rest of their lives, through their retirement in those condos that they're purchasing for a hefty price tag, the median market value of those homes. I want to know whether those people will feel safe when they see these safety concerns that we're bringing up in front of you week after week now. I want to make sure that they know what they're sinking their fortunes into and what they're committing themselves to. They don't live at 1606 Wall Street. I do. I see those safety concerns. I see the U-turns happening constantly on the weekends. I see the kids literally playing hide and go seek in that intersection, hiding behind the Elks dumpster. The other kids are in the yard. They're playing hide and seek in that intersection. There will only be more children in that intersection. For me, that's a huge concern, leaving my house daily as I see it now. When we put up a 3-story structure on the entirety of that block, it will create a blind corner, not just for that small section where we might be able to glimpse a child or any sort of pedestrian, person walking their dog, a person riding their bike from their bike ride up Virginia Canyon. These are real people that utilize that street today, and we're putting them in jeopardy by creating such a long blind corner on a triple the approved grade, a 20% grade. of what the city will allow on the street today. I just really question whether you guys are going to uphold what you've committed to us as a city and keep those safety concerns involved. I'm all for Habitat for Humanity and building their affordable workforce housing. Thanks.
Thank you. Next we have Cole Dolph.
Hi, my name's Cole Dolph. I live at 1606 Wall Street. My main concern today is the safety concern. It's an obvious one. It's a natural concern. You're creating a blind corner. You're casting shade on what is now a sunny 27% grade hill, 21 or 27. I believe it's 27 at the steepest point. Creating shade on what is now a sunny area. You're giving no space for 8 families, presumably with children. So there's going to be children and people in this intersection all the time, as there already is children and people in this intersection all the time. So yes, the building needs to be shorter. There needs to not be blind spots. Let's talk about the cyclists who come down Virginia Canyon, who don't have to stop at stop signs, who are going 20 to 30, 10 to 40 miles per hour on their cycles, just flying through there. And we're coming down on a blind corner on a steep gravel or icy grade. It needs to be lower. It needs to be further east so we can see around that blind corner. I'm concerned for any person who has to come down that hill on a daily grade and what their legal repercussions would have to be because they had to come down this incredibly dangerous hill with any person standing at that corner and what would happen if they would hit them, because this was approved by Habitat by the city of Idaho Springs. I'm extremely concerned for anybody who has to go down that hill on a regular basis. Safety is the main issue. My second point here is everybody's concerned about affordable housing. I want to say this housing is not affordable. Starts at $300,000. There's 2 mortgages, $150,000 is unattached. If you have to move from this tone, a second mortgage kicks in, you still have to pay $150,000. It's a terrible situation for anybody who has to move. I'm the assistant kitchen manager at the Main Street restaurant in town. I cannot afford this. Your server can't afford it. The grocery store clerk in town can't afford it. Your nice bartender who gets you beer on Friday night can't afford it. I don't really know where you could work in Clear Creek County and afford these houses. It's not affordable. So I'm all about affordable housing. This is not affordable housing. I don't really know. Maybe the mine. Maybe you could work at the mine and afford these houses. That's about it as far as the lower income people in this county. So yeah, I don't want anybody, including Habitat, mainly Habitat for Humanity and the city council, to think they're doing anything but a disservice to the lower income residents of Clear Creek community and Clear Creek County by approving this plan. It's not affordable housing at all. And it's, yeah, it's not good. Yeah, and to set people up for failure like that is bad. It, you know, the last police chief talked about how he wanted to do more for the methamphetamine problem in this town. I'll tell you, when the person who works 30 hours a week or 60 hours a week at the store and has no money because it's all went to this mortgage, he's gonna turn to drugs because that's the only thing he can afford. Safety, affordability.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vicki Larson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We've been talking about this a lot, and I am at 1639 Colorado Boulevard. My name is Vicki Larson. I'm a business owner and a resident on that corner. And my issue has been safety from the beginning and density. But I think they're really linked. The more people you put in a small space, 1 block from the busiest street in town, which is Colorado Boulevard. And I loved, I'm sorry, I forgot the one young woman's name who spoke earlier about stop signs and those kinds of things. I wonder how many council people are really downtown on a weekend or even weekdays during the summer when There are so many cars on Colorado Boulevard, our beautiful pedestrian sidewalks. You can't even cross the street because people are so anxious to get where they're going. Pedestrians don't even have the right of way. And yet this project, which has the 16th Street problem, we're considering making it a one-way to the east, so everyone comes down 17th Street. But you can't turn left with the traffic. You can't turn right with the traffic when it's really busy. So how many stop signs, stop lights, crosswalks? You know, how do we move people through town if we have to stop every few minutes when something happens on the freeway? So it's not just the safety of 16, which is paramount. It's the safety all along Colorado Boulevard for pedestrians. When people do get the opportunity to make a turn or move, they seem to hit the gas as fast as they can, go as quickly as they can for 15 feet and slam on the brakes. So I don't know, I would love to see more people be able to afford homes in Idaho Springs, in Clear Creek County, and provide teachers and workers downtown and all the people that make it wonderful to live here, be able to afford to live here. But only if it's safe, and only if it doesn't make the visitors that we're inviting to Idaho Springs not miserable because they can't get around. And current residents that live here not be able to leave safely from their homes and do the normal things that they do that brought them to live here. So, as I said before, I trust you guys. I know you have the best interests of the city. I know you've got your obligations, but I really hope you hear that we think there could be better solutions than this particular one. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. Okay, I have Rod McPhail.
My name's Rob McPhail. I'm a new resident at 1520 Wall Street, so I'm probably the newest resident here. So we've been here my wife and I have been here about 10 days. When we moved in, of course, we knew about the road coming down. We didn't know about the Habitat project, but to be honest, I'm not against the Habitat project at all. But I'm also not in favor of my neighbors who I've met in the last 10 days or so, losing their views. My issue is safety. That road is terrible. And I can't believe the city let it go on that long. And I guess my only comment would be, what happens if there's a fire up on Wall Street? Can a fire truck get up that? Because I can't get Home Depot or Conn's to even deliver to my house right now. And I know some improvements were made this weekend, but after 2 days or so, that thing is already slick as heck coming down it. And I can't stop my sports utility vehicle within a foot or a foot and a half, even in dry conditions. I can't imagine what it's like in wet and icy conditions, which I haven't had a chance to experience yet. But my next question would be to EMS. I mean, I think I read in some past notes that you guys asked for comment from the fire department and EMS, and I saw that there was no comment from either. I would think before moving forward with something like this, we'd at least want to see what they had to say. Because I care about the people at Habitat and I care about the people on my block. And so just looking at it right down the middle, I would say fix the street, and then I wouldn't have any issue with it all. A lot of my neighbors don't, lose their views. But I don't know if there's a solution there. But my first and foremost concern is safety. That road is not safe. And I've lived many, many places all over the world, and this is the worst road I've lived on. And I just can't believe y'all let it go this long. So.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Next I have Rick, this is Jacob. Rick Jacob. Is there a Rick that signed up? 1548 Wall. You signed up twice? Oh, that's Rick Scott. You were on the scheduled public comment. Sorry about that. No. Scott Cass?
Hi, Council. My name is Scott Cass.
My dad, many years ago, was a city attorney here in 1968. We had the opportunity, we actually have a house at 1600 Wall Street. We've gotten to know a bunch of great neighbors. The whole community, I have to tell you, is a great community. I think Idaho Springs is doing things right. I can tell you from some of the interactions we've had with different councils, school districts down in the city of Denver, on and off, that there's not such a great collaboration. And for the people that voted no on this project, I want to applaud you for one reason. This is a legacy project. It has nothing else to do with politics or let's hurry up and do this and that. It's a legacy project that you're going to lead down the road, just like Rick said. This is 100 years down the road. You won't be able to change it. When my wife and I talked about a school district that was in our actual area down in Denver, they wanted to take the school down and make it condominiums. The neighbors came together and they said, look, in this density, we'll never get another chance to build another school for kids. And we lost the field, but we kept the school. And it was one of the greatest projects that the council left behind for us, because now there's a legacy that they left. So I'm asking you right now that as you look at this, I think we're all perplexed about a couple of things. One is, it's not about us versus Habitat. They're a Christian organization. And the one thing that stood out for me when I looked at your website is that you work with the community. That's something that I think is something that needs to be ongoing. And if your community steps up and says, there are problems and issues with safety, and we vote that through without hesitating and taking a step back to try to see if there's other options that you could create that would be more conducive and collaborative, then it's a bad decision. And when you make a bad decision, the ramifications for the long term stay with you. And that's what the legacy about this project is, not only to me, but to our neighbors. Everybody here wants affordable housing for somebody or for the community. We all agree in that regard. It's just the way that the project's drawn up. It looks like it's going for the maximum when the community really wasn't engaged, not from any of our perspectives. And I think when the community comes up and speaks, you have to listen to them. Because if you don't, it's just not the right way to address the responsibility. You're behind a wheel for 10 years down the road, 100 years. This is important. And I hope you'll listen, because we believe in the safety aspect as well. And when I look at it, it's the density, like everybody said, it's a long-term decision. The traffic down there is horrible. And Rick's right. We see people come and go, U-turns all the time, cars coming together. The other day I walked down with Rick, and you walk down that road, it's dangerous. Walk down blindfold, it's real dangerous. And what I'm asking you to do is take a moment, please. This is a long-term legacy decision. There's no need to hurry. Let's all collaborate together. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Scott. And I believe I have, this is Alita Cass.
Hi, I'm Alita Cass. I'm at 1600 Wall Street as well. I just met my wonderful husband. As my husband stated, and as our neighbors have stated, as personally, we believe in Habitat for Humanity. We've donated to Habitat for Humanity. We believe in low-income housing, but we want it done safely. And this road, right now it's hot, but in the winter, when it's icy, it can be a death trap. And that's what we're really concerned about here. You know, with my kids running down the hills, they've scraped knees just walking down the hill because it's so steep. So there's a lot of issues here, given the fact that we're going to be building higher, putting a shadow on the streets, the ice. I don't think this is right for our community. And I don't think it's safe. And I thank you for listening.
Thank you. Let's see, we already heard from Kim and George Marlin.
Hi there, council. Good to see you. George Marlin. I live at 1302 Colorado Boulevard. That is one of the 8 very steep avenues in Idaho Springs. I also lived at 1528 Wall Street for most of my youth. So I know that hill, and I agree with all of you. It's dangerous. It's steep. My grandmother broke her wrist slipping on that thing. My brother went through the Elks Lodge fence. It's steep. But I am here to speak in support of this project. I think that we have these safety issues all over the town. I got hit on my bike at Virginia Canyon, right? And if you're raising a kid in this town, there are some things that are important to teach your child, right? One is not to play in intersections. And that's a matter of personal responsibility. I know my mom worked really hard to keep me from playing in intersections. She worked really hard to keep me from playing in the river, right? She also worked really hard to make sure that somebody on this highway didn't take me down the road. These risks exist in our community. And we have to mitigate them today. I don't see this building as greatly aggravating the risk at that intersection. I think that something that can do to mitigate it, that I don't know, I haven't been up there for about 10 years, but good road maintenance, right, is a great approach. I know when my mother was doing childcare up there, it wasn't until a public works employee saw her shoveling salt onto the road that they decided to add it to their route, right, to finally plow Wall Street. So I think regular road maintenance would be a great way. I noticed that's the difference whether you're on 8th or 13th or 7th. Good road maintenance, get rid of the ice and we're good to go. So again, I support the project. The reason I support the project is because we do need housing in Idaho Springs. We have a housing crisis. We had a housing crisis last year. This year we have a housing emergency. You all know that. You track this stuff. We worry. We have a lot of anxiety in this community about the kind of housing, where it's going to be, how much of it is. I personally worry about impacts on view sheds. I worry about new infrastructure. But there's some pros too to new housing, right? There's paying tap fees helps pay off the debt on the water treatment facility. It brings down our water rates. That's important to think about. I view this development as positive. This is infill development. This is minimal impact on our view sheds, right? Minimal impact as compared to some other projects we've seen come in front of council that would have dramatically altered one of the more beautiful view sheds we have. I think that projects like this are how we work at solving our housing needs and start to chip away at the problem without having to make very dramatic, large scale, mini unit developments up in the hills where we want to look at them, right? Where we want to see the hills. So thank you for your time. I want to express my support.
Thank you, George. All right, and we have Michael Kassenbaum. And if you'll state your name on your where you reside, please.
Michael Castendam, I reside at 1702 Virginia. It's hard for me, actually, and I think it's hard for probably all of us as I've gotten to know this incredible group of people that are my new friends and neighbors. I think it's hard for all of us, but particularly for me, because I'm also in support of a version of this project. And I'm in support. I like Kathleen, I'm in support of Habitat for Humanity, and I think we all kind of are in support, like George. But we see something a little different than George. And so thank you, City Council, for being for affordable housing and making this happen. And staff, city, and everybody, we're all for affordable housing. Thank you, Kathleen, for working so hard and giving all of your time and attention to affordable housing. And I benefited from it. Some of us have benefited from affordable housing. Maybe some of us here who haven't needed to will at some point in the future. It's great. All I want to say is I've learned about all of the issues it's primarily safety, it's that intersection, but there's other issues. And so what I'm just asking, okay, is the council and the city and Habitat, you all work with us, which is supposedly what Habitat is supposed to do. Sit with us more, listen to us, be open-minded. We're close, I think, to something that will work for everybody, okay? It might require a little more time, but I think we're close, and we all just have to listen to each other. And that's what I want to encourage. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, that's everybody on our unscheduled public comment. Thank you, everybody, for your comments tonight. Okay, we will move down to the planning and community development. We will be moving, of course, you remember our last meeting, we opened it back up for deliberation through a motion from council. What I wanted to do, because we did hear last time that folks weren't notified enough or didn't feel that they had a proper notification to come in and hear council deliberate. So the reason that we're going to continue this again for another 2 weeks is because we, like we did the first go around, by putting out within 300 feet, I believe it is, that the residents and others have to be notified. We wanted to make sure those notices go out. So everybody in that area that was notified the first go around will be notified again. So this will come back up in 2 weeks for us to continue and to deliberate and make a decision on the Habitat for Humanity project. Okay.
Will we be able to speak at that meeting or no?
You can sign up for unscheduled public comment anytime.
Okay.
Were you gonna say? Oh, okay, yes.
1548 Wall Street, I see it all.
Okay,
Every day.
thank you. We will move to community matters, June staff report. Is that you, John?
That's just FYI.
Oh, that's just an FYI?
The monthly activity report for planning.
All right, city attorney, Carmen, do you have anything for us? Because I'm a little bit confused now because it does say public hearing on our agenda, but I did not have a spiel for a public hearing. We don't have a public hearing.
No, Mayor and Council, good evening. Hi, everybody. I'm behind you. I can sort of address that under city attorney before you get to that item under 15A, Mayor and Council. This ordinance number 5 in particular is the one that's noted as a public hearing. You'll note on the agenda that it also says that this will be continued to your August 9th meeting. So I wanted the public to be fully aware of that. Reason is, Mayor and Council, I would like some time with you, which we have not had yet, to talk a little bit about the legal research that I have done and some legal issues you and I need to talk about concerning the regulation of body art establishments. So rather than sort of engage in that kind of discussion with you here in the hearing on the ordinance, I would like to have the time to visit with you about that separately, maybe a work session, maybe not, but I think before that ordinance comes back to you, I need to talk to you a little bit.
Okay.
So we're not voting on that ordinance?
No, we'll defer that out to August 9th.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Carmen, for the clarification on that. In ordinance number 7 was the vacation of the right of way on 11th Street, correct? What we're going to do is we are also, instead of having a second reading on this, we're going to continue this. Andy, did you have a date for us to continue that?
I don't, but we can certainly come up with one.
I say we.
And Mayor, just so you know, that one is not an ordinance that requires a public hearing. So it would be lovely if you could choose a date certain right now. You aren't required to legally, however, but if you want to nail that date down, that would be fine.
I say August 9th. Regular meeting, right? August 9th?
Yes.
Okay, then we'll continue this until August 9th. And just so council's familiar, this is the vacation of the right of way inside the football field that we tabled.
It's just,
Yeah, so that's what that is. So,
Mayor,
August 9th, yes, ma'am?
sorry, Mayor. I just wanted to make sure that I know I sort of introed these issues under city attorney, but I just wanted to make sure we got motions to continue all these ordinances that are under 15, sir.
Okay, so let's do that for ordinance number 5. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the ordinance number 5, series 2021 gets tabled until August 9th, 2021.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second discussion. Quick roll call?
Michael Melman.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Doug Harmon. Bob Boland.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
yes,
Do I have a motion for ordinance number 7?
I'll move to approve ordinance number 7, series 2021 gets tabled until August 9th, regular meeting.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second, Art second, and discussion? Roll call?
Michael Melman.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Doug Harmon. Bob Boland.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Tim Park.
yes.
All right, ordinance number 10. We can do this one. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve ordinance number 10, series 2021, ordinance amending section 5-1 of the Idaho Springs Municipal Code to disallow simultaneous membership of both the planning commission and the city council.
And
Second.
second motion is second on the table. Discussion.
Does that just mean you can't
Be on both
at the same time?
at the same
Yeah, of
Right,
course.
Right. And the reason for that, Jim, is in the past, there was a
really?
lot of projects. So we had somebody that was making a recommendation that sat on the planning commission,
And then was on council.
was on account making a recommendation to the cell.
Technically, you
Wow.
could be on
You
both.
could be on both.
So this takes that, because in essence, really somebody should say, well, they should have a conflict of interest. because
Well,
they've already made a
absolutely.
ruling on it. So
Yeah,
this gets us out of that.
yeah, I wouldn't even,
Yeah.
I wouldn't entertain, yeah, I wouldn't even entertain that.
All right, any other discussion?
Yeah.
Roll call?
Michael Melman.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Doug Harmon. Bob Boland.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Tim Park.
Yes,
Okay, do we have Lorraine with us tonight?
Not tonight, but she will be with us at our next meeting.
Okay, all right. We will move down to the city administrator.
Mayor and
Andy?
Council, you have my report with no request for action.
All right, I like it. I like these last five categories with no action items. Okay, anybody have any questions for Andy? Or John? Assistant administrators, no, nothing? All right, thank you, Andy. Diane, city clerk?
Mayor and council, you have my staff report for your review with no request for action.
All right, everybody get a chance to look at the sales tax report? It's pretty impressive that that we're doing that
Yeah,
with
for
our
real.
real, but and looking at the weekends right now, it's crazy out there. It's crazy out there.
mental.
Busy this morning, we found there, we wanted to get a couple of restaurants, 10 o'clock this morning on Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very crowded.
a lot of it is lack of staff. Because I can't open up I can't open my full restaurant right now. Okay, any other questions for Diane?
Yeah, so I asked this before, I think, but we can't get a breakdown on sales tax from like downtown to the east end. You don't have that, do you?
We can get it.
It's a little difficult.
It is, and periodically I ask Diane to do that so we can crunch some numbers to see kind of what's going on downtown.
Maybe one of the busy months of the year.
Yeah,
maybe
we can
do
get,
that,
we
just
probably
kinda-
need to gather those numbers anyway before we get to our election in November. So,
It'd be nice to get a year to year on that though too, so maybe the following year you could tell track.
Diane says.
That's no way. Well,
We'll be here.
Diane won't be here.
Dan's
But
like,
we will have
yeah,
her.
I'll get that for you, no problem. No big deal.
Yeah, Diane, if you would, just pull that together for us.
Right around December
Gee,
1st.
sorry, Diane.
Let's do that. What do we want to do? May, June, July, or April, May, June? April, May, June. I'd rather wait a month to do it, May, June, July. Do we have time to wait on that, John? Or we need that pretty quick though, don't
We
we?
really need to be finished by
by the end of August.
Okay, so just pull the 3 months up to June. Appreciate it.
One thing that I would have liked to known is before parking and after parking would have been nice to know how much effect the parking's having on the downtown area.
With them being closed.
Well, just, yeah, I mean, that's true too, but I mean, the paid parking, if it had a positive effect or
Well, we know
with
it did
sales
with
tax.
the turnover.
With
It
this-
definitely, especially with Minor Street closed this summer, 55 parking places gone.
Yeah, I mean, we lost a ton.
Yeah, so what would be with that, with losing the spots versus the sales of downtown with like, where they actually couldn't even park into, where they would have to walk down, would be a good example.
So another reason.
Sanders Place, like
Right.
okay,
right.
like that. How would it have been beneficial to keep that open or no?
Keeping Minor Street open?
Yeah.
We hear difference from different people. I think most of the people that use Sanders Graphics are probably locals.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know how much, and I haven't talked with Jerry or Bart to see how.
And I
it's
just
affected
use them as an example because they're not a restaurant with something in the
Right.
forefront out in front of
Right.
their place. It's a walk-in place versus the revenue of a place like them without having vehicle access to them.
And I don't even know if they would share that information with us. We could
Sure.
ask.
I talked to Bart actually on the 4th of July, and they have a loading dock behind their building, which does help them out. But their front store the walk-in traffic is a little limited, but there's also a loading zone on each corner, on each avenue.
Right.
So their access is a little bit limited, and he said to me that he thought that overall the marketplace was successful, even if it's not quite as successful for his business.
Sure.
We also lost net 20 spaces because we gained spaces on Colorado Boulevard, so we netted out like a 20 space loss.
And in the rear,
Yeah.
behind.
I just think those numbers would be effective if we were seeing fluctuations in numbers
The
and how
other
we
thing that we
can
have to
make
realize
decisions on.
is there's not one business that has not increased their prices by 10 to 15%.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's hard to
That's-
compare this year
that
from
is,
last year.
Because that's gonna drive sales back up.
That'll
Of
drive
course.
sales tax
Just
up.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
that
it's
and-
a little bit convoluted
Oh,
to try to.
probably, you have COVID, you have the growth in the Denver area.
Yeah, there's a lot of
It's-
factors.
Yeah, it's almost.
It's not a
impossible.
one
Yeah.
and done.
Yeah.
But Diane does have a spreadsheet that she'll just have to go back and look at the numbers and plug them in, and she can give us that downtown district. and
One
the
thing I was
rest of the
noticing earlier is like one of our action items is utilize technology that reduces costs and increases efficiency at City Hall. So there might be ways in the future that make that easier to track that Diane has to do it now. It sounds like a real difficult task, but technology can maybe be a help.
There's
in
only
that.
one person that can look at people's sales, and that's the city clerk. I can't go in and look at Bojo sales. I can't go in and look at Tommy Knocker's sales. She's the only one that can go.
But
in and
maybe
look at
there's
that.
some kind of technology in the future that could come across her desk differently that would be easier, less time consuming.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a city ordinance or?
Oh, no,
That's federal law.
Federal law.
Gotcha. Huh. I didn't realize that.
Okay, any other questions for Diane?
You skipped Safefield.
Safe Build, did everybody see the Safe Build report? Okay, thank you. Any questions on the Safe Build report?
No, none.
All right, thanks, Diane. Chief? You got one?
Chief, nothing?
We have no action items, and I apologize we didn't get a report there. I'll just speak very briefly about a serious situation you're all aware of, and just let you know that we handled that correctly from the beginning, and it's unfortunate, and but it was handled correctly from the beginning. So I'll leave it at that, just because there's probably going to be.
Were you getting some pushback on it?
There's a lot of media attention, yes.
But I will say firsthand that I firmly believe that Chief and the PD handled this in a very aggressive and the right way. And made everything happen. There was no long time in between.
There was nothing that was done that said it could have been swept under the rug or not looked at. I believe that Chief Busick stepped up and has done an amazing job at addressing what's going on. So
Yeah, I
thank you very
agree.
much, Chief. Appreciate that.
Yeah, that stinks so. Yeah, he was a good man. He's
The right way is not always the
Yeah,
easy way.
For sure. For sure.
Okay. Any other questions for Chief? All right. And we will move down to Public Works, Streets, Water and Wastewater.
Mayor and council, you have my staff report before you and no request for action.
Request for action. So John, I've got a question. I know we've been seeing some things on Facebook about the park and the grass. It's not the whole park. It's just probably
No,
that
it's
100 by
just-
100
Yes.
area.
Actually, and I believe I sent it to you, Mayor, and Andy. I received one quote from the company that's taking care of the park currently. They wanted $133,000 to put in sod or $18,000 to oversee the area that are bulbs, basically, the park. Overseeing would mean that we would have to shut the park off for 6 to 8 weeks until that grass grows. If we sod the park, it could be probably a month to shut that off. So it's Mayor and Council's pleasure. We're gonna start working on the budget for next year. If you want to put something in there like that, or the current contract does not include anything like that that we have with the company that's doing the park.
Is the grass improving in those areas now?
I think the grass is approved.
They were mowing it today.
A lot
Right.
in the parks. There's just
Yeah.
one area right there, which
It's
unfortunately
where
was,
they came in and they scraped that back and put new soil in there because of the pH
unfortunately,
levels.
that's where we were
Yep.
working with the equipment, putting in the new bathrooms.
Yep, I remember
And
that.
that tore it up and it just has not come back since then. Irrigation, all of the irrigation down there is working,
It's working fine.
all of it's working.
Does it say one time of year that it has to be shut? Can it be shut down in the fall or spring or?
You know, I am not real familiar with the seeding or anything like that.
Cause it's kind of hard shutting it down in the middle of summer.
Yes, it is.
That hydro seed is crazy. Works good though, it seemed.
Yeah, first time that they did that, I mean, that's what ACC put on the park was they hydromulched it.
Yeah.
And they use a lot of rye seed and rye seed grows fast, but
Quick, yeah.
rye seed does not last a long time. It's basically a catalyst for whatever grass that you have in there.
Sure was impressive that first year though.
Man, it was like overnight.
Yeah, it was.
But that's kind of where we're
And I
at.
do know that we're getting raptors. We've asked not to use that side of the park for staging and doing their training or over there doing that. So
There shouldn't be any reason currently that they need to put in on the east side of the 23rd Street Bridge. Because that bridge, the water is way down far enough that you can get under that bridge.
think about that.
That was only, my understanding, what I recall, was that was the only reason that we
They
allowed
needed
them
yeah.
to do that on the east side of
Water
the
was too high.
bridge.
Very high water, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know that it ever came to that point this year at all anyway. with the
Probably it did,
runoff.
actually.
And for sure not now because it's melting off fast. We probably only have a couple more weeks of rafting left anyway, so. Okay. All right.
Compost or biosolids, fill that whole area with biosolids.
We can go down there and get some cake from you to throw out there.
We could, but
You gotta
we don't,
compost and
yeah,
meet the regulations.
we don't have, ours doesn't meet the regulations currently. It may when the new plant is finished with the granules and that, but currently they can use it for agricultural, but not
Right, well, if
human
you
product.
gotta meet certain criteria.
Exactly.
Dry it out, get pathogens down.
All right.
This is suggestion.
Anything else for John? City planner, you have anything for us?
Not at this time, Mayor.
Okay, all right. Figured you were here, I'd give you the opportunity. All right, thanks, Jared. Thanks, John. Okay, Bob?
Oh,
History
right.
lesson.
Yeah, well, it's short meeting night, so I'll have to make it longer. No. Anyway, does anybody know anything about Courtney Riley Cooper and why the heck we have a park named after the funny thing we was talking about is cracks?
I don't know.
That Courtney, that was his name.
Courtney Riley Cooper, yeah.
I've read on that before, but I can't remember. what it
A
was.
colorful character back in the day. He was born about 1886, I believe, and died in 1940. And native of Missouri, and he worked for the Kansas City Star as a crime reporter in his early years and prolific writer. He published a very popular writer and one of the top paid authors and magazine authors articles in the country. And he had about 400 magazine articles that were published and 30 novels. And again, he made top money on many of those things. Because of his crime reporting in Kansas City, at the Kansas City Star, and apparently Kansas City at the time had quite the underworld going. In fact, it was notable for sure. And J. Edgar Hoover became a very close personal friend of Courtney Riley Cooper through their entire lives. And J. Edgar Hoover was quoted as saying that Courtney Riley Cooper knows more about crime going on in America than any other individual in the country. And so anyway, he worked for a couple other papers and he came to the Denver Post. And he was a reporter there for just a few years, 3 years perhaps. And he was resident of Idaho Springs at that time. He was also a close friend of Buffalo Bill Cody. And he was also a circus performer. He was a circus clown and a world traveler, but he became the lead marketing person for the Floto Cells Circus, which was not Barnum and Bailey, but it was about the second biggest one. It was a big operation, and they bought the Wild Bill Hickok, the Wild West show, not Hickok, Buffalo Bill Wild West show. And Buffalo Bill was still alive at the time, so he went with the show and owned by the circus. So anyway, that was his life. I'm not sure how the park was named after him, but obviously he had an impact. And we do have a new collection of most of the newspapers of that time. And it'd be interesting to research that and see what connection he had to this with the city and the park. Anyway, he died in 1940, was living in a hotel, just temporarily not living there, but staying in a hotel in New York City, and supposedly committed suicide by hanging. And his wife, who was in California at the time, said there was no way this individual is going to commit suicide. He's got too much going, too much to live for, and really no major problems. J. Edgar Hoover said the same thing. This had to be homicide. They never proved anything that it was homicide. The only suicide note was take the money in my clothing and pay the hotel bill. That was it. And so that was the end of Courtney Riley Cooper. And again, died in 1940.
Wow.
So interesting, another connection to history. We got the Titanic, got someday we'll talk about why the heck we have a statue of Steve Canyon of all non-people. So anyway, that's all.
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody noticed, but Scott still thought we were on a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
I was getting glare from those legs all night.
Yeah, I know, right?
Zoom.
All right, it's 8:04.